Every sports fan has an opinion. Well, these are ours. Welcome to Brock and Pep's Unsportsmanlike Convo.
Right.
And here are your hosts, Brock Fleming and Pep Cariotti.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is June 1st, 2021. Your host, Brock Fleming, and joining me as per usual is Pep Cariotti in his Blue Jay gear. Pep, how you doing today, bud?
I'm good, man. It's what a beautiful couple of days. We had some weird weather today. Did you get any rain today? Did you get that?
Yeah, two short little, I wouldn't even say storms, but they came down pretty good for maybe 3 minutes. And then the sun would come out, and then there would be another one, and the sun's been out ever since.
How's your grass?
I got dandelions. I didn't, as much as True Green is the lawn care company that I had used last year, whatever, and they call like constantly, and there's about 4 of them that call, and finally I just forget it. I'm not interested. And we keep talking about doing our backyard either this year or maybe next year. So we're going to kind of tear it up anyway. So Andrew's like, no, we're not going to do it. But I kind of regret not taking them up on it because I got the dandelions up there now. I'm at a point where I'm going to go out and cut the dandelions shorter so that it evens out the grass, because the grass doesn't need to be cut yet, but the dandelions do. So,
well, it's it's been a dry May. So, if there's going to be a summer where you just say, you know what, let's just tough it out for this summer. What's the deal with dandelions? Are they they provide pollen for bees or something? Or I don't.
I'm sorry. I'm Brock. I'm a sports guy. I know nothing about dandelions other than the fact that they're annoying.
Okay.
For you on that one.
Hey, listen, I want to shout out my buddy Mike Herzog, who I've mentioned the last couple of weeks. He was running 14 kilometers every single day in the month of May as a thank you and for sure. As a thank you and a sign of gratitude to all the frontline healthcare workers across the city. And he ended that campaign. Actually, the campaign's still going. It's called hashtag Ottawa Heroes, ottawaheroes.weebly.com. And if you visit that website, you can find out more about what he's raising money for and stuff. But his part, I guess, is kind of sort of over. He ended it on yesterday, which was the last day of the month, with a 46-kilometer run. After running, crazy. And he went from the Queensway Carlton all the way through, and he weaved himself through the Ottawa landscape to visiting every hospital. And there was a small group of people at every site just thanking him and had the signs. And anyway, I met him at the last destination, which was Chio. And it was actually, I only had a small part in it at the beginning. I helped him put up signs. But and then for the rest of the month, I just kind of followed him and liked as much as I could. But I was pretty emotional. I was pretty emotional when he crossed and when I saw him running, and then they had the bagpipes. Bagpipes will do it to me every time.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
I can kind of see it if it's in the right context. Again, not changing the topic because I want you to get back to this, but there's a random guy that plays bagpipes up and down Maryville, and you should hang out there for a little bit because it'll probably ruin that whole nostalgic for the bagpipes kind of thing. It's really out of context and just kind of annoying. But anyway, in this context, I can get why maybe they get you.
Well, and because Mike's parents were there and his wife and kids were there with the signs and everything, and of course Chio was there to greet him, and then the bagpipes start playing. You're like, oh my god, this is too much. But it was awesome. It was too much in the sense of overwhelming, emotional. And I didn't even take part, so I couldn't imagine being one of his volunteers. Anyway, it was really cool. Congratulations to Mike Herzog, a great guy. Yeah, for sure.
Initiative. I mean, impressive feat to begin with. Anyway, I wouldn't even know where to start.
All to say thank you. I mean, there's no monetary bonus other than whatever he's raising, but everything was on his own accord and out of his own wallet. And his wife's an occupational therapist at the General, so he had there's a connection there. But anyways, cool story.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I'm gonna shout out a very special woman in my life.
Ooh.
So it's she's not listening. She doesn't have the tech where she's at. Anyway, my grandmother turns 89 on Thursday.
Come on.
I wish her a real big happy birthday. It's been, I literally have not seen her since COVID has started. We FaceTime a little bit when my mom's there, but unfortunately I haven't been able to see her. I plan on doing that in the near future. Hopefully that she's good enough to get outside and stuff. But
what's her first name?
June. She's
June?
born in June, yeah.
Oh,
June,
June on June
Davidson.
1st.
June 3rd. June 3rd.
June 3rd. Okay.
On
Okay.
Thursday. But
Hey, happy birthday, June.
yeah, so we got the that's part
Very
of the
cool.
tattoo I have too, is for my grandmother and grandfather and stuff too. Anyway,
I love it.
Happy birthday. I love you, and I can't wait to see you. It's been over a year and a bit now. It's great.
Emotional start to the show, guys. This is this is too heavy for the. Can we restart? This is a lot of heavy stuff with Mike and the grandma June. And,
yeah, but it's good stuff, right?
It's good stuff. Yeah, totally. Yep. Love it.
You know, it's not good stuff. As we go right into the old Leafs heart and just pulls it out of there, blowing a 3-1 lead against the Montreal Canadiens to lose in Game 7. Now we got a comment it was on the Cap City Beats one. So Mike, our producer Mike, has been in the back kind of checking that. I don't have access to pull it up, but the first comment, which was the kickoff before we even started talking on the show, the comment was "Ole, F the Leafs suck" by Ben Vanderan, who is very quick to push the Leaf fans' buttons that he knows. And honestly, it's hard to blame him. I'm going to say, like, I was looking at comments and what is it with the Leafs that just they can't get to the next level. And I'm looking at, they've won 7 playoff series, just series rounds, 7 round wins in 25 years. And I look back, I work out in the basement. I got 2 Leaf pictures there. One was a nice big print that my dad got me of Matt Sundin, real nice. And the other one is the autographed, personalized, signed picture, 8x11, I got from Doug Gilmour after meeting him when I was working at Fairfax, and he spent the night and he was, had a bunch to drink, but I got his autograph on like a napkin, and he was playing for the Sabres at the time. And I told him, I said, Doug, I love you, but I hate the Sabres. So yeah. But he took my address at Colgate and he sent me this, like FedExed me a picture in a Leaf jersey, autographed to me, to my address at Colgate.
Hey, that's pretty cool, man.
But really, that's the last time the Leafs were, I want to say, relevant almost, or exciting, or had any sort of spunk. And I'm wondering, is there a curse? Is there the curse of the Bambino, but for the Leafs? Is it the Carey Fraser Gretzky high stick? Even though they went to the conference finals the year after, I'm like, was that like the beginning of the end? Because after 94, there was nothing. I have no idea. And there's people putting out there, and it's just they say it's the fan base. It's the arrogance of the fan base that's keeping the Leafs from moving on to the next round.
Well, what can I say here? Well, first of all, there's a lot to unpack with Dan's comment. Ole, F the Leafs suck. There's a couple of hidden messages in there. So, but I love it as a Habs fan. Also, can Curtis or somebody who's listening, can you please text Mike Ferreira? Let him know. There he is.
Oh, he's on. He's on cue. Right on cue.
I was just going to say someone contacted
Hart was in 93, 94. And also I made a comment on Mike's post today, because if you notice, Mike's profile picture, as per every Leaf fan's profile picture today, less than 24 hours later, has changed to now he's supporting the Portuguese soccer team. So the hockey playoffs are out. We are no longer interested. And we're moving on to World Cup soccer or World Soccer, whatever it happens to be.
Hey, but early 2000s, the Leafs were pretty good with Gary Roberts and some of the Darcy Tucker. They were gritty. Cujo, that was a decent squad there, the early 2000s. And then came the rebuild of sorts, Nick Antropov, and they tried to go bigger, and things just went sideways for a few years. I can't explain. Look, when they were up 3-1, I said, "There's no way Montreal's winning 3 in a row." There's no way. The Leafs looked faster, bigger, quicker to the puck. They were winning all the puck battles. Montreal struggled to just get a shot on net sometimes, and when they did, it was Montreal did not look good.
Agreed.
And then came, this is going to sound ridiculous, but then came Jake Evans, who missed the first 3 games, and they put him on the top line with Gallagher and Danault, and they won 3 in a row. I'm not saying it's Jake Evans. I'm going to give Danault some love in a minute here, but he brought that element that Tatar couldn't bring. Tatar was just a little more offensive, but Jake brings the heat. He's quick, got quick feet.
Okay.
And I think he just balanced out their lines a little bit better and took a little stress off of Gallagher having to be that, the gritty guy on that line. So it paid off last night. Gallagher had a nice shot, beat Campbell through the 5-hole.
That was weak, and I thought that was a bit of that was
deflator.
They were deflated, yeah. And Campbell did not play bad.
No.
At one point, I was questioning at what point would the Leafs, because really Campbell came in, was hot, but he was replacing Anderson. Anderson's your guy.
Yeah.
He was hot. So I didn't mind them starting with Campbell and going with that series. But you get to a point, you've lost now 2, it's going into game 7 or whatever.
Yeah.
Should the Leafs have made a switch and brought in Freddie for, if nothing else, kind of a wake-up spark? It had nothing to do with what Campbell was doing, but should they have put Anderson in at some point during the season, or even in the middle of game 7 after the Gallagher goal and the second one came right after the power play? You say, you know what, Freddie, let's go. Like, we need to do something, and we're not doing it. And they didn't make those moves. And I also felt like there was no spark. There was no extra gear, which that sometimes that goalie switch, that like timeout, we're in tight, we got to do something, came through. So I was kind of hoping to see something from the coaching standpoint to say, you know what, like, let's just mix it up.
Yeah, maybe 9 times out of 10, I'd agree with you. But like Campbell, like you said, Campbell played well. And when you give up 3 goals and then your coach pulls you just to get a spark, what message are you sending to Campbell? Like I played well, but you're pulling me just to get the boys going. This is the playoffs. I mean, if that's what it takes to get the boys going, then they're no wonder they lost. And Freddie Anderson is a UFA. Maybe they have no intention of bringing him back.
Which I'd be fine with. From a Leaf supporter, he's never been a guy where I'm like, you know what, that's great. But we got a guy who was a goalie in Greg Spiro here saying, well, that spark needed to come from Marner and Matthews, and I agree.
Yeah.
The other guys didn't bring the energy, that spark that they usually have, that excitement, that extra gear. I mean, Marner's turning the puck over because they're trying to do too much. It's almost like they're, again, from a playoff standpoint, we talked about it before, of how the ice gets smaller and there's less space out there, which is crazy to see how that's going to be. But it's like they're almost too skilled and weren't able to work in the tighter confines.
I thought, actually, you know what? It's funny you say that too. I thought Matthews, I think it was game 1 when Sherratt sort of ragdolled him from behind and he had that dumbass look on his face. That, to me, that said it all. That's all I need to know about Matthews right there. You're supposed to be a team leader and you're acting like a goof. I get it. You don't want to engage. You're trying to draw a penalty. You don't really know why Sherratt's losing it. But that's those are the optics. That's the rest of your team's got to follow that lead where you look like a goof. You got this stupid smile on your face. For me, that's all I need to know. And I like the Leafs. They're like my second or third favorite because they're a Canadian team. But Marner was awful. Matthews had some point blank looks. He just missed the net, but he had his opportunities. Marner was terrible. And there was a play against the boards last night where Suzuki caught the puck sort of on the fly and just sort of deked him, made one quick move to his right towards the boards. And Marner looked like he was a peewee player. Couldn't poke check the puck, couldn't stop the guy. And Suzuki went on and he had a good scoring opportunity. And I thought to myself, you know what? There's something. It's no guts. Maybe Babcock wasn't the problem. I think Babcock had other issues, but clearly Sheldon Keefe's got some work to do. The Leafs have a hell of a UFA list. I don't know if you've seen. I know I put the list earlier on our show page, but it could really look different next year. I thought Hyman was one of their best players. I thought, Nylander was one of their best players. I thought those 2 guys played extremely well, and the rest of the guys just didn't hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk playoff hockey, and especially when they're younger, I feel like young guys feed off of different things, like outside sources almost. I guess my point is that I think from having 500 fans is nothing, and even the Bell Center sounded like it was rocking on TV with 2,500 fans. So that's got to give you something. But I feel like missing the fans, missing that, maybe that's what was, the kids weren't able to sort of pump themselves up more. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but the first goal, producer Mike just made a comment, was very Lalim-like in when Gallagher scored on Campbell. That was deflating. That was a save he should have made, that he needed to make. They were in a spot, and they were constantly trying to fight back into these games. And what happens is, because there's a lot of skill, they're trying to do, it's almost like they're trying to do too much, and they're turning the puck over. So I think Toronto really needed to score first last night, and that goal was very deflating from a team standpoint. I also thought that one of the best players on the Habs was Galchenyuk.
Yeah, he played well for Toronto. A couple of gaffes, but I thought
a couple of gaffes that were pretty costly. He's enough where I'm just like, the Habs trade him, so he gets landed into an opposition, and really he's like a spy, and he's just giving them the puck away. Anyway, I don't like him, so he's on your UFA.
Hey, it wasn't that long ago when Galchenyuk and Gallagher were the future in Montreal, and Pacioretty. And those are the three guys that led them to a pretty deep playoff run the one year. And then the wheels fell off. And then Galchenyuk just never lived up to the hype. I think he went to Arizona and then bounced around a few times. But I thought that he only cost
them a game in OT.
Very true, Seb.
That was a huge game. That's that's a series clincher if you don't turn that over.
Totally. Toronto's UFAs. If our listeners want to chime in and have their say, keep or dump. You could just maybe quickly answer. Kerfoot did play well. Freddie Anderson we already mentioned. Spezza, who I thought was one of their best players. Hyman, Bogosian, Thornton, Galchenyuk, Simmons, and Foligno. All those guys are UFA. They can land other places. There were another couple of players, but I didn't think they were notable enough to mention. So if any of those guys, Foligno, Simmons, Galchenyuk, Thornton, Bogosian, Hyman, Spezza, and Freddie Anderson, all those guys are UFAs. Do you bring any of them back? Listen, Spezza seriously has some stuff left in the tank. He looked awesome.
I love Spezza. I liked him when he was in Ottawa. His little dorky laugh thing, and he was kind of a goofball, but just like from a character standpoint too, and what he's doing and the role he accepted in Toronto. Am I really up to 3 from the standpoint counter? Anyway, here we go. Spezza, again, from a player's perspective.
Hey,
the guy organized a fundraising thing for the for the Marlies, for those guys to get paid, and spearheaded that kind of organization. Like he cares, but he's from a skills perspective, he's got a lot left in the tank.
Oh my God.
I was listening to the Toronto Sirius XM feed of that because I was golfing that night and I forgot the game had started early. So I was driving home listening to the Toronto one, and they kept referring to his line as the geriatric line, which was him, Thornton, and I don't know who the third guy was. Was that
Simmons maybe? Or
it might have been Simmons, but anyway, I found that amusing, and I had to check to make sure it wasn't the Montreal feed that I was listening to.
No, it was Galchenyuk on that line, I think.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
No, well, that's fitting too. Anyway, Spezza, keep Spezza 100%. I don't even think he costs that much, given his thing. Thornton's a guy that if he wants to continue to play, I bet you they bring him back. Again, his cost isn't going to be very high. He doesn't have as much left in the tank. That's clear. But I would, Freddie Anderson, I'd move on from him. Get rid of that. Galchenyuk, I've already told you that. Beat it.
Bogosian. I thought Bogosian played well with Muzzin.
Well.
I don't think defense was their problem. In years past, that was a big issue. I thought this year, this year I thought they played well. This playoffs, I didn't think there were too many gaffes on the defensive end. The Dermott played well. Muzzin was really good. Hall, the tall kid with the mullet, he was good. I thought their defense was actually pretty good.
Yeah, and really, that I agree. Like the gaffes were from their forwards,
which is crazy.
And it's
that's a good team there. And they lost John Tavares. I thought really just showed his value. But when they lost him, they lost their guts and they lost their leader on the ice. And it's not Matthews who could clearly Matthews could not replace what Tavares brought on the ice. That was clear. It's evident that he's their guts. And losing him was just, I think, a killer. I think that's really what cost them, to be perfectly honest, because if to a man, there's no way Montreal beats Toronto. They're just not as good a team. You saw it on the penalty kill. Like Toronto looked like the Harlem Globetrotters when they were on the power play. They moved the puck. They're faster than the puck. They were bigger. They were laying the body early on, and they just stopped doing that. Look, I'm not mad. I'm happy, but like it just wasn't good. Now, if I can just sort of flip the switch for a second here and give Montreal some credit, and I was hard on Montreal all year, especially towards the end of the year when they started to really slow down, and it looked like they weren't working as hard for Dom Ducharme, who I was very hard on as well. Their interim head coach. He still has the interim tag, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due, and I'm going to give credit to Danault. I already mentioned Jake Evans and that, his coming up, and I thought that was actually a really big factor. But Danault shut down Matthews and Marner. He was Matthews' shadow.
I feel like we need to have some background music that's for apologies, because you're apologizing to Danault for everything you've said over the last little while. I feel like we need a little bit of that in the background.
Well, hang on. I did also. I was going to say this later on in the show, but I might as well say it now. Let's pump the brakes. We also beat Pittsburgh last year and then laid a huge egg against Philly. We got the Jets next. That's not going to be so easy. And then if we get past the Jets, I mean, those teams out in the on the east side, I mean, there's some rugged stuff going on over there. So Colorado looks like they're unstoppable. So
let me ask you though, do you care? You've beat Toronto in a playoff series, your arch rival for as long as hockey's existed. You've won that. Not only have you won that, you've decimated them in terms of giving them a 3-1 lead and then pulling the carpet under them. Like, it's a longer, drawn-out, crushing defeat than was the 4-1 lead that they blew against the Bruins in Game 7. Like, so what you do afterwards, it doesn't matter. You've beat the Leafs.
Okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. So from that perspective, coming in as the fourth and last seed in the North, to beat the number 1 seed, I mean, you've already exceeded expectations. I would say the season is now considered a success. But this is Montreal. It's only a success if you win the cup. Otherwise, it's like fire the coach, fire the GM, fire that's Montreal for you. That's just like Toronto. Toronto's going to deal with all those questions. Like, is Sheldon Keefe the guy? Are they going to blow it up? Are they going to that's just the way it is. From my perspective, the way Montreal played the last end of the season, this is totally a success. This is a huge celebration. They beat Toronto. It's an arch rival, but like overall, they've made it to another round, which I never thought they would have. Kudos to Carey Price, who played amazing hockey. That's probably the best game I've seen him play. That's the best game I've seen him play in a Canadiens uniform.
I watched 10 minutes with Jackson.
Oh, Jackie boy!
And like, there was a power play, and Toronto was kind of all over the place. Like, they were like, the puck movement was great. They were down a goal already, or maybe 2 goals at that point, and the pressure was coming on. And I must have said, I think I probably swore a couple times too, saying that Carey Price, I said, he is so effing good. Like, the play, you see the play come across, and he's there to make that save. There's just those cross one-timers on Nylander that he gets over for.
Yeah.
It just stuff. It's just, he was just on another level. And any Habs fan that at any point in their, I don't know, in the last few years who talked about Price and trading him and getting rid of him, whatever, owes him an apology and clearly has no clue. This guy is arguably one of the best playoff goalies I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Really? That's a huge statement considering he hasn't made it to a Stanley Cup.
Hey,
I appreciate that though.
For me to like and cheer for a Montreal Canadian player on any level other than Doug Gilmour, who played a little bit there, but even then wasn't great.
Yeah.
He wasn't great. It wasn't great. Like, I couldn't really bring myself to cheer for him. Carey Price is a guy I constantly root for. I don't know what it is. Like, even his post-game interviews, he's not an exciting interview by any means.
No, of course not.
But like, he's just phenomenal. He's a nice guy too.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, you were going to talk about because we were going to talk about the best Aboriginal athletes that we can think of and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
And he is Aboriginal.
I did I know that? Yeah, that's fact check. I think he is, and I always Carey Price off the ice, he represents himself in the city so well, which is why they'll never trade him. And fine, I'm fine with it. And the last 2 playoffs, Price has been awesome, but can he sustain it is the question. And over the course of the regular season, there's arguments. Well, it's a regular season. He dials in the playoffs. I always just found Carey to not be able to make the big save when we really need it as a Habs fan until, certainly this series and the Penn series last year. But more often than not, over the course of the regular season, when you need him to make the big save, he just seems out of position. Was it injury? Was it his goalie coach? Was it the defense in front of him? Was it him trying to do too much? It could be all those things. No one ever questioned his skill or questioned his ability or questioned his talent or all that stuff. He is elite. It's just those lapses in focus again, it could be the defense. Their defense is not strong. They get peppered with shots, but that could be a culmination of things. As a fan, I'm a fan of the person. Yeah. I'm definitely a fan of the player now. Prices, I can't even pronounce that, so I won't even try. You want to try it? Ulcacho? Ulcacho First Nations descent.
We should not be trying to pronounce something without having that done. But
that's tough.
Yeah. Anyway, Carey Price. If Carey Price would be on the Habs team, you pay him the same salary. You put is it Jake Allen, your backup?
Yep.
Yeah. Jake Allen's your starter for the regular season, and all you do is shelf Carey Price until the playoffs. Would you do it? You know what I mean? If you're like, what, regular season, we got these guys, they're moving. Carey Price, you stay healthy, stay focused. Now, I know from a game speed, you can't just go into the playoffs like that. I get it from an athlete standpoint.
No, from a money standpoint, even you want to draw fans.
With that, okay. From an athlete point of view, we can't just go into the playoffs and be at that high level. I get it. But if you could, and you're like, I'm just going to bottle up Carey Price until the playoffs, there isn't a team around that would not do that.
There's a lot of factors there. A, do you make the playoffs without him playing? B, you want to draw fans to go watch Jake Allen? There's a lot of things involved there. I get what you're saying, but you play him as little as you can, and you find yourself a hell of a backup to play 50-50, maybe? That would be interesting. It's an interesting thought.
Yeah. Keep them fresh. Anyway, there was a comment that was brought up. I'll just wrap this one up real quick. And disappointing from a media standpoint, I guess. And he brought up a good point. It was Dan Duran on a comment we had after the game. And he said that I keep getting rattled by the standpoint counter because I say it too often. And now I got to figure out my other word. Because ESPN and Sportsnet are all based, like our major sports broadcast stations are all based out of Toronto. That Toronto being out is still going to be, now it's going to be, what did the Leafs, where did they go wrong? What do they got to do? What's happening with the Leafs? All that kind of stuff, as opposed to being a focus on the Habs and Jets playoff series, which is kind of unfortunate. And I hadn't really thought about it before. And then he brought that up and I was like, it's because they're based out of Toronto, but it kind of sucks that's the news we got to get for the next little while. It should be focused on the success of the Canadians and the Jets teams. And let's talk Leafs after the Stanley Cup's been awarded. Yeah.
Well, listen, and as far as the Habs are concerned, still guys like, Corey Perry, what an acquisition. And at the beginning of the year, he wasn't even slated to play. He was slated to be a healthy scratch most of the season. I think they suffered an injury to Armia, and then Corey Perry came in and played well enough to earn himself some time. I thought he was spectacular. He's been an all-star Team Canada player for how many years? With Ryan Getzlaf. The guy has got the pedigree, and look what he did in Dallas last year. They made it to the Cup. So I thought that was a great acquisition. Playing with Stahl, who looks like he's lost
same thing. Yeah.
Stahl looks like he's lost a few gears, but hung in there. That's good. Armia had some big goals thanks to Perry mucking it up in the front. That was a great acquisition. And I love the fact that he's getting some PP time and just great. Awesome. I'm really happy for Corey Perry. Great acquisition. Carey Price was probably the best player on the ice. I'd have to say, yeah. Yeah, would you agree with that on the Habs side?
Yeah, There's not a person around who would disagree with that. You just
Okay.
talked about it at the beginning of how much they were outplayed.
They were totally outplayed. Absolutely. Josh Anderson and Toffoli, I thought, laid the lumber when they had to, but I think they have another gear in them. Anderson looked like he had some wheels, but, Toffoli I think he led the team in goals. I think there's more in their game for the next round, which is exciting for the Habs. And then the kids. I want to grade the kids. The kids being Kotkaniemi, Caulfield, and Suzuki. I'm going to give them a grade A. Caulfield, just because he brought a spark. He may not have scored in this playoffs, but I think he had a couple of assists, and he looked like he was a threat every time he touched the puck.
All right.
Did you notice that about him?
I honestly, I didn't notice who on the Canadians team was doing anything. I watched for Caulfield and Corey Perry. But, I kind of like Corey Perry as much as I disliked him with the Ducks back in the day.
He's hard not to like when he's on your team. He's just a gritty guy. Suzuki, I thought Suzuki played well. Again, those guys might have a little more in the tank for the next round, which is scary for the Jets. But I'm going to give them an A because it's a huge stage, and they were down 3-1, and they were able to come back. So it's going to be exciting. The Jets are a different beast. They're well coached. They're a veteran team. They're poised to make a run. They're built to make a run. I mean, it's going to be tough, man. The Jets are no joke.
The Jets are going to be
tough.
Yeah, they're going to be tough. I think it's I don't know. I didn't give Montreal too big of a chance in this series either, but
Hellebuck is next level though. Hellebuck is next level.
Campbell played very well. I'm not going to take anything away from what Campbell did, but Hellebuck is a guy who can steal a series like Carey Price. And I just think the Jets have a ton of firepower. Like their top two lines were as good as Toronto's, and I thought Toronto's, when healthy, were probably one of the top in the league, and Winnipeg can stand with them. So,
and how long's Winnipeg been off? They've been off. I feel like it's been like 2 weeks. They're healthy now. I know Dubois was dealing with a couple of nagging injuries. This is just a perfect medicine for him. Has been 2 weeks off watching these two teams beat the hell out of each other, and I think that starts tomorrow. Does it start tomorrow?
It'll be quick, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's a quick turnaround for the Habs. Do they ride the momentum, ride the wave, or do they come crashing down after a pretty emotional victory? I'd say it was pretty emotional. Now they got to regroup, refocus. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. I think, as this Oilers fan, I'm not sure who said it, but said don't go to OT with the Jets. This Oiler fan knows, which again, a lot of people gave the Jets that much chance to come and stop the Oilers and what they're able to do.
Yeah.
But, that's the thing with Montreal is that you don't have a Connor McDavid to kind of focus on and say, we shut him down, we're good. Like they're kind of all over the place. There's no real stand-up stud that you can focus on. So if they kind of play with the same heart and desire that they've had and some grit that I found the Habs showed, you get a couple of sneaky goals on Hellebuck, who knows? But
yeah.
Again, I'm not gonna bet because I have no money to put it on, but I'm not. I wouldn't be putting it on the Habs.
And it's funny. I just find the Habs to be, even in this series, I find them to be like a counterpuncher. They're not the aggressor. Like it's pepper us with shots. Toronto looked really good at some points. Like better than Montreal. They were looking a step quicker and faster on their feet. And again, Price played on his head, but like. Can Montreal continue to do that? Take the pounding on the back end. I mean, that defense is not Weber. Weber is their leader back there, but Weber's not Paul Coffey anymore. Kulak and Chariot and I thought Gustafsson actually came up and played really well. The guy they acquired at the trade deadline, I thought he played really well. But John Merrill started the first 3 games. He was not very good. So can that back end withstand? Petrie, I thought, turned his game around after Matt Potvin ripped him. I thought he read Potvin's comment and said, you know what? I got to change my game because Maddie from Elmer is not happy with my game. So,
from Elmer.
Yeah, I'm just happy that Montreal's back end withstood the heat, but I don't know if they can do that with Winnipeg. Anyway, we'll move on to I wanted to bring up. I want to ask you a question about the tennis player who
I just
French
deleted it off our thing, given our time frame. But
Oh, did you? Okay. I just want to ask you anyways,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
really quickly. No, Naomi Osaka, who withdrew from the French Open, which is one of the biggest, obviously one of the Grand Slams. She's one of the best players in the world on the female side, at least. Deals with mental health issues and doesn't want to do the media bit after. I guess they're obligated to that contractually. They have to talk to the media afterwards. She got fined $15,000. She went and told the media, "Look, I don't want to do this because it's not good for my mental health. You guys ask me questions that make me uncomfortable, and it affects me. How you guys criticize my game in the media and these press conferences affects my game. So I don't want to do them." She took a beating for that. I didn't give her a beating personally. I mentioned that it's part of your contract as an athlete. That's kind of what you have to do. It's tough. It's tough. I'm with her.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, and that's you know what, her mental health. She's bang on. Like, you guys, what you say about me and the criticism, it affects my game. It affects my life. So you're going to fine me $15,000 for not wanting to subject myself to that abuse or whatever. I mean, I thought that's really tough. Tennis really needs to. All sports actually need to really rethink this contractual obligation. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of players who'll gladly get up on stage and talk press conference. I mean, there's guys that love the mic. Don't force people to do it. That's my opinion.
I mean, it's an entertainment, right? That's what you're getting paid for. Sports is an entertainment thing more than anything. And this is part of the entertainment, the media, all this other stuff that these leagues make money off of. But as we've seen with Marshawn Lynch, there are ways of doing it without getting caught into any sort of, difficult questions or whatever. Just go in. You're there. They can't find you. So if you're there and you're answering the questions or whatever it happens to be, it doesn't matter what your answer is. There's no stipulation on that. So put your sunglasses on, grab your bag of Skittles, and I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah.
And then it just stops, and then you're gone.
People aren't wired that way.
A little bit younger as well. So, I get it, but it's kind of part of the, I don't know. I want to say it's part of the industry. It's entertainment.
It is. No, it is. It is. It is. It is. But someone's clearly saying, "Look, I have mental health issues. I don't want to do this." No, you have to. No, what world are we living in? That's just crazy. I mean, that to me is crazy. If someone says, "I don't want to do it because I don't like the media," well, you signed on to do this. But if someone says, "I'll do it, but right now I'm not comfortable doing it because it's affecting me personally," and then she gets fined $15,000. I mean, what message is tennis sending to the world that, hey, listen, someone's just come out and said I have mental health issues and media stresses me out. We're going to fine her $15,000. I mean, it's got to be on an individual basis. Like, every situation's individual, and it's not a cookie cutter situation. You can't just. I mean, that's where the leagues have to adapt and evolve into, like, listen, every case is different.
That's where, when we talk about mental health and the stipulations around it, and the misconceptions and the, it starts with concussions. Concussions, same type of thing. There is no way of proving you have a concussion. You say, "You know what? I'm having this kind of stuff." There is no cut. There's no bone sticking out of the skin. There's no bruising. There's nothing like that where a doctor could be like, "Yeah, you have this." You got to ask them what those symptoms are. Same thing with this. It's one of those, "Oh, you have mental health issues." Okay, so you're saying that whether you do or not, those organizers may not believe it. And if she gets out of doing the press because she has mental health issues, then tennis player B will use mental health issues as a reason to get out of it, and it sets a precedent. So but again, I'm not saying that that's right. I'm just saying those are the hurdles that things like concussions and mental health and all that kind of stuff have to go through, because they aren't, you know what I mean? People can't see it. It's not a tangible thing. It's something you got to trust in the person for saying and being honest with what they're dealing with. And unfortunately, that's just not always the case.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, it's a good point. I actually think though, that a lot of people like talking on the press conference. So it's like you're going to have more people who want to do the press conference because they're getting some publicity and they get to market themselves and they get to show off their, whatever. If they're wearing a Nike symbol or whatever, it maybe their Nike's paying them $5,000 just to be up there on stage. You don't know,
Exactly.
right? So I'm sure there's more. And yes, Greg, I agree with you. There's an obligation there for sure. The fans want to hear from you for sure. Absolutely. I don't know if I fully agree with that 100%. I still think that it needs to be on a case-to-case basis. And I think, like I say, I think most players will get up and gladly talk. Like gladly talk, especially if they've had a bad game. They want to defend themselves. So I get it. This is an odd situation. I think the jury's out. Maybe when some more time passes in the story, more stuff comes out about the story, we can have a better conclusion, a better opinion. Right now, it's a little early, and I'm curious to know why she dropped out, because she is one of the best players. I mean, that's like Djokovic dropping out from the French Open because he doesn't want to do press conferences. That's the equivalent. That's how good she is. So anyway,
it'd be more like Nadal dropping out of the French Open because that's what he typically wins. Anyway,
yeah, true story. Okay, let's move on to Julio Jones.
Before we move on, real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Big Boss Man Kwame and his crew of No
Big Boss Man
will be following us tonight live at 8:30. I think.
Oh yeah.
So we are going to make sure that we kind of wrap up by quarter after, and they're going to roll right into it. So Tuesday night will be the live sporting night. So yeah, no holds bar, or four old dudes, I think is what we call it. What do they call it? Four old bar. Anyway, they're on after us. And if anybody watched the guest appearance that we had on them, we beat them in trivia. So
oh yeah. Julio Jones. So Falcons are softening their stance on a first, saying now they'll take or listen to second round options.
Rounder in 2022. I don't understand why 31 other teams aren't throwing that out there right now.
Well, that's it. There was actually read an article that what would you do if the Seahawks offered DK Metcalf straight up for Jones? I mean, would you pull the trigger on that trade?
If I was the Falcons, yeah.
Yeah.
But if I was the Seahawks, I'm giving up a second round pick in 2022 and have DK and Julio.
Yeah, I mean that's but I mean if the option was to give up, it's either we want DK or move on. We're gonna pick another team. Do you do it if you're the Seahawks?
The Seahawks, no, I don't do it.
No, you keep DK rather than an 11-year vet.
Yeah,
makes sense to me.
Draft picks, I'm full game. You want a second? You want a third? I'll give you a second and a third next year. Whatever. I'll give you that stuff, but I will not give you a guy who has a bit of a track record, is starting to come into his own. And you can see he's starting to make those strides, physically a freak, just like Julio, younger, faster. You know what I mean? Like, we're not giving that up. But you want prospects and guys that we're going to pass up in the future who we're not sure of, and then maybe you guys can pick. 100% take them.
Does the NFL not have any tampering rules or regulations? Because guys are tweeting like, "Hey, come here, you'd be great on our team, and come here, we'd be." I mean, Chase Claypool said, "Yeah, we're stacked, but there's always room for more stars." I mean, isn't that tampering? Is there what? I don't.
Yeah, I would.
You can't do that in the NBA.
To a point. If you have an issue with tampering, I guess go back to Tom Brady and anything that he's done. I think didn't he house Antonio Brown before he was even signed with Tampa? Like, he was putting guys up and feeding them and whatever. Like, so I don't know. I'm not sure what the rules are from a tampering standpoint, but I would agree that would be tampering. And I think the NBA is a bit more stricter in that kind of stuff.
I don't see Julio going. I don't see him going to a team that doesn't have a chance. I think Atlanta will deal him to an AFC team actually. And I could see, I could see the Bills would be a good fit for him. I think the Bills have their eye on Zach Ertz, which makes a lot of sense. But I actually really could see him going to New England if they could make it work somehow.
They're the front runners, I think, right now.
Are they? I mean, look, it makes sense. And New England is not shy to deal picks. I mean, they'll give you 4 picks next year. They're not shy. They've already rebuilt essentially on the fly. So there's not a whole lot left for them to do. They have a stacked defense. If he ends up there,
you guys haven't played in a year and a bit. So
yeah. Anyway, crazy stuff.
Cam Newton, what's the relationship between Julio and Cam Newton? Or is it going to be a Mac Jones kind of thing going in there? Who knows? So from a Julio standpoint, the arm and who's throwing you the ball has a lot of weight. So what's your relationship like there? I don't understand why the Packers aren't all over this. Does that kill two birds with one stone where you get Julio and you bring Rodgers and that brings Rodgers back? Imagine Rodgers with Devontae Adams and Julio Jones, and then the run game that's been pretty decent over the last little while.
It's getting ugly in Green Bay. Rodgers didn't show up to the OTA, which is obviously not a big deal, but nobody did. None of his starters did. None of the receivers. So it was Jordan Love and all the second tier guys, along with Dillon and what the other running backs. So, we've heard about obviously Jones wanting out. Rodgers, Watson, I think is all but gone. I think Houston has signed like 4 journeyman quarterback, and now they have like 6 running backs on the roster. They're running backs. Yep. Like Mark Ingram and Phillip Lindsay are good running backs, and then they got Burkhead and they're loaded. So they're clearly anticipating no Watson. My question for you is, which team?
Because I said he was going to be released 2 months ago. I'm
surprised it hasn't happened already. I don't know what they're waiting for.
Right or completely wrong.
Yeah. Which team out of those 3 teams, Atlanta, Green Bay, or Houston, which team will suffer the most by losing their star? I think it's safe to say Jones is the star on that offense in Atlanta. I know they have Ridley and Ryan, but he's the star.
He was. Now Kyle Pitts is in there.
Oh yeah. So which team's going to suffer the most with whoever leaves?
Green Bay, hands down. It's not even a question. Green Bay's offense, they've been running pretty well, but their offense runs through Aaron Rodgers. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. They don't have a great receiving core that can, put Love in there, and all of a sudden he's got a stud receiving core that he's just got to get the ball to. No, other than Adams, I know Tunyon was up on some list of most effective catchers or something. Anyway, they had a few Green Bay guys on there, and people were like, "Well, Rodgers has the worst receiving core?" Question mark. These guys are on the list. Yeah, because Rodgers puts the ball exactly where it's got to be. These are professional athletes that can catch the ball. They're not going and getting these same numbers with Love at the quarterback. So, hands down, Green Bay is the one that'll suffer the most if Rodgers does not go back.
Yeah, and he'd be the easy pick right now. Although, they'd love what they see in no pun intended, but they love what they see in Jordan Love. That's the word coming out of Green Bay. He looks good. He looks fit. He's got a lot of intangibles. He's mobile. So is Rodgers, but he's bigger than Rodgers. I'd have to wait. Green Bay is the obvious choice. Look, Houston was 4-12 last year with Watson. So losing him, maybe they're better. Who knows? Unlikely. But
I'm getting chirped here already.
Unbelievable.
Sportsmanlike standpoint.
Unbelievable. So that's
producer Mike. Is that when we talk the standpoint counter? Is that just me, or is Pep in this too? Does he say?
I don't think I say standpoint very often.
You don't, eh?
No.
All right. Fine.
If you listen back to my, if you listen back to review the film, I don't know if I say a lot of words repeatedly. Well, I used to say let's put a bow on it.
Yeah, that's right.
I used to say that a lot. I don't say that anymore.
Yeah, because you got chirped. Because my dad chirped you for putting a bow on it.
Did your dad, Big Rob?
It was Big Rob, I think, during our podcast.
Devastating.
Put a bow on it, and then you've never done it since. So.
Oh, that's a gut punch if I ever had one.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, that's awesome. All right, just really quickly here, in the NBA playoffs this year, it's been ugly with the fans. We had a guy try to spit on Trae Young. We had a water bottle thrown at Kyrie Irving leaving Boston. I know Kyrie stepped on the Celtic logo in center court. You don't do that in Boston. Are you nuts? Yeah, it's like a death wish. But he like a plastic water bottle. That guy actually had a day in court. He was arrested. And then popcorn was spilt on Westbrook.
Yeah,
what's going on? Are fans just crossing the line here?
Oh, 100%. They're crossing the line. I think it's a combination of
excited to be back,
locked up down there as they have been up here, because we've had a few things in the city over the last little while that is not typical. So I'm wondering if that got to people, but also I just find with social media, with all this kind of stuff, it's just people seem to be more entitled and feel like they can get away with stuff more.
Mm.
And because of that, this is the kind of crap that happens. And there's no place for that. Like, these guys should be getting arrested, or not, or like I'm saying it's an actual thing, but let Westbrook go up and talk to the guy. You know what I mean? Like, let's get Milbury with a shoe and beat the guy with it. Like,
Well,
it's insane. It's disgusting. It's not how fans should be acted. It's not how people should be treating athletes, treating people in general. Like, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish and what the deal is, but there's no room for that. So those leagues better step in. I mean, the NBA's got to step in from a security standpoint and hold these guys accountable.
Hey, Bradley Beal. The Wizards beat Philly last night. It's now a 3-1 series. Embiid is out for the next game, so the Wizards could actually claw their way back into the series, but they got to go back to Philly. And Beal said, I'm not scared. I got my hands. I can use my hands. I'm ready to go. Like, it's like, what are you guys going to war? It's just a basketball game. I mean, and we were laughing about the chants, right, at the MSG when they were chanting stuff to Trae Young about him balding or whatever. Like, but does it cross the line? Is that just not abuse? I mean, Trae Young's a well-paid guy. Is it likely he's going to take it seriously? Yeah, you're making fun of my hair. I got money, more money in my bank than all you guys combined. But I mean, isn't that the kind of culture that we're trying to teach our kids not to be like, making fun of people and this and that and the other? Like, it's just a whole where society is like a whole contradiction, and sports should be the one thing that maybe teaches us better. I don't know. Call me old-fashioned.
Well, I mean, if you think of, back in the day, you think the NBA, and you think, you see some of those highlights from Detroit and, even Philly and the hockey stadiums and stuff like that.
It's rough stuff.
Stadium, it was rough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that translated onto the players, but from a fan standpoint, I remember hearing stories like, yeah, you don't go to an Eagles game if you're not an Eagles fan. And even then, you might not be able to, enjoy the game if you're too worried about fans and stuff like that, and who's pissed off that you're standing up or whatever. I mean, there was that the guy that died outside of it was a Giants and Dodgers game, I think, a few years back. They had those issues. Like, just a sporting event is supposed to be entertainment. We're supposed to have something to watch, cheer for, whatever. But ultimately, there's a sportsmanship in sports. Like, those teams play each other, that's fine. But just like you saw after Toronto got beat for the third game in a row to be eliminated from the playoffs for the 25th year in a row.
Hey, ouch.
Oh yeah, I'm going. And they shook hands, and even the GM shook hands in the hallway and stuff too. Like, there's still sportsmanship. That's what it's about. So it's just the fans lose that aspect of it. Yeah. And they get too consumed into their teams and the rivalry and the back and forth and the hatred that maybe media is spinning to try and sell the game more, or whatever it happens to be. But the fans get sucked into it, and and they think it's real. It's not wrestling, people. Don't get sucked into these soap opera things. It's sports. We're competing. They're competing at the highest level, but ultimately there's a mutual respect. They know that everybody's going home at the end of the day. Like, let's not take it that seriously.
Why you gotta take WWE shots every time? Every podcast now, you're taking little pot shots at the WWE. Hey, listen,
I'll take WWE shots. I took Leaf shots. I took a lot of shots.
If anybody out there, I know that we have some WWE listeners or watchers. If you've been watching the A&E biographies, they've been awesome. Like, in depth, personal looks at these guys. Unbelievable. Mick Foley's was awesome last week, and I believe the last one of the series, I'm not sure if they're doing them in seasons, but Bret Hart is Sunday. I'm pretty interested in seeing that one because he's Canadian and all that good stuff. But they've been really, really good, and biography knows what they're doing. Obviously, A&E is notorious for their biographies over the years, so highly recommend it. What's Mikey saying?
Mikey's got a question. Are basketball players the babies of professional athletes?
This coming from a guy with a soccer shirt.
Exactly. You cannot put anybody above soccer players in terms of babies from a professional sports standpoint. So, Mikey, Your comment is gone.
Gonzo. I saw a guy, Mike, try to bite another man's penis on the soccer field. They were both rolling around, and the guy tried to take a chunk out of the other guy's penis. And the other guy was like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, that deserved the buzz. I mean, it's just, what am I like? Flopping is awful, and the NBA, it's slowly infiltrating the NBA again after they sort of.
Yeah, that's the league's fault, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. And they, you know what? They took care of it a couple of years ago. They were suspending guys and fining guys, and plays were reviewed after the fact, and there'd be suspensions. Like, I mean, they did a good job, and they just stopped caring. So, anyway, Mikey with the soccer shirt. That's amazing. We got some time. We still have some time. I want to talk about what happened with this weekend with the Jays. They took 2 out of 3 from the Yanks. Great job. And then they rolled into Cleve. I love that. I shouldn't love it as much as I do, because it's actually not that cool a song, but it's all right.
Not that cool a song,
no,
but it gets you kind of going for it a bit.
Sure. So then they play Cleveland, which is one of the worst hitting teams in all of the majors. They've lost everybody. They can't afford to keep anybody. So now they really are like a AAA team with a couple of major league hitters sprinkled in. And the Jays take the first 2 and are, well on their way to a sweep, up 4-0. And then they give up the lead. Fine. They come back, take the lead again, 5-4. It was a 7-inning doubleheader. This was the second of the doubleheader. And they're rolling into the 7th. Chatwood had a rough 6th. And then rolled into the 7th. And Charlie Montoyo did not warm a player up, did not warm another pitcher up, just in case Chatwood's struggles continued on into the 7th inning. Now, he ended up giving up the lead. And by the time they brought a reliever in, it was too late. The bases were loaded, and I think it was a sac fly, and they lost.
Yeah.
So Charlie got roasted on Twitter. Charlie was roasted on pretty much everywhere. And he came out in his press conference and said, look, we took 2 out of 3 from the Yanks. We took 2 out of 3 from the Cleveland. I wanted to give Chatwood a chance to win this game. He's one of our best relievers. He deserves a chance to get out of this mess. Did he wait too long? Number 1. And number 2, don't you feel like Toronto has to win all of these types of games to keep up with the Bostons and the Tampas? Because the AL East is hell.
Yeah, you can't. What bothers me is the content with taking 2 out of 3.
The way he in his press conference,
2 out of 3. No, you blew a third where you had a sweep in your hands if played properly. So I think what it is that during I think it was the Yankee series, he went and took Chatwood out early, and Chatwood was visually upset and had a few words at Charlie at that point. And was it too soon? Maybe, but that there again, when you talk about like laying the foundation and almost setting a precedent or setting things up for future, that incident set up for this kind of thing where he wasn't going to be taking him out too early.
Yep.
So even though they're 2 separate instances, it's going to have a lasting effect, and I think that's kind of where that came into play. Now I know that warming up pitchers, like, it's not the same as a men's league thing. Just go out and throw the ball with your buddy for a little bit. Like, there's a process.
Yeah.
And that process also affects when you can bring those players in the future. If you warm them up and you don't play them that night, that might affect their availability the next night. So there's some of that balance. Am I supporting at Pep Talk on Twitter that roasted Charlie Montoya for it? Yeah, I'm supporting you at that point because I would have agreed. But there's other factors in there. Anyway, I just don't like when he's like, hey, be happy we took 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
No, you're right. We don't have that luxury. You need to sweep when you can sweep. And we want to see that killer instinct, which is what we're missing.
Especially when you're playing catch up still. Now you're still 5 games behind, and you're 1-2 game losing streak from being 8-7-8. Like, I mean, that's it. You got to win those games when you have the chance. You got to play to win the games, like the old Herman Edwards. Like, you got to play to win those games.
Play to win the game.
You got a day off. You had a day off after. Why would you? What's there to just like pull out all the stops? You got a day off coming up. Vladdy just smashed a 3-run homer, by the way. Number 17 on the year. Incredible. Right. So anyway, I wasn't happy with it. I'm not on Charlie Montoyo as much as other guys are. I like Charlie. I think the players like him. I don't like Luis Rivera. I don't think I'm shy about that comment. Luis Rivera, their third base coach, he makes more gaffes in a season than any third base coach should have. And I get that, a lot of the players tend to make their own decisions when they're making the corner on second rounding. I just saw you rapping in our comments page here.
This is rapping around third.
Anyway, Luis Rivera, as far as I'm concerned, it has been there like 5 years too long. But Charlie, I'm willing to give him this season, see how he does with this squad, especially when Springer shows up. I'm willing to take a pass on this. He'll learn from it too, right? It's only a second 2.5 years in the league. So let's give Charlie a pass.
He's got to feel out his staff and understand things. So if Atwood's going to, bitch at him for taking him out early and he leaves him in longer, now he has it. Now it's back in Montoya saying, you know what? You blew it that time, so I'm taking you out when I want to. Like there's a feel out process. That's fine. Rivera's whole, my attitude towards him is summed up in him in the game 1 against Cleveland where it was cold and kind of rainy, and he was on third base, and then they had the close up, and you can see he's wearing like a parka underneath his jersey that's tucked into his pants or whatever, and I was just like, out. That sums up my feelings on
Luis Rivera. Yeah, whatever. Edmonton Elks, you like it? What is that, a whale?
That's the elk sound.
Edmonton, if you're listening, if anybody from the Edmonton Brass, front office, whatever, stadium control, that if you could just play that sound when the players come out the tunnel, bro, give it a we make all the kids cry in the stadium.
I wasn't expecting that necessarily as being that high pitched, but that's the elk sound. And I'm
love their helmet.
Sure, if I see one deer on my front lawn or I see 12 deer on my front lawn, there is no S. And I'm pretty sure elk is the same thing. It's one elk or multiple elk.
This is true. Hey, I like it. It's a gaff that they better keep. I like it. I like elks. They already painted the field. Elks. There's a big S in the field.
Is that real? I thought it was digital when you had.
No, that's Dave. That's a launch. That's it. And Mike hates the name. I love it. I actually, and the helmet's awesome.
Mike's favorite hockey team just got beat yesterday.
There's a lot of hate.
He's already given up hockey. He's back on soccer. He's just an angry guy at this point. Let's just give him a little bit of space.
I'm going to give you 48 hours, Mike, to get your head right. And that's cool. That's cool. Look, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. And the helmet's got the two elks, kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles, where their wings are. I like it. It looks good.
The two elk.
It's elks until further notice. So I like it. I mean, it's a name. I mean, what does it matter? But I think I'm glad that Edmonton decided to make that change, and especially in lieu of everything that's been going on within that community. I thought the timing was pretty good. Time to move on from stuff that is offensive, and that's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad that they did it. I actually like the logo.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it's a nice twist on it.
Somebody put I saw a mock logo of basically the Calgary Stampeders with horns. The horse had horns. There's going to be some awesome Edmonton Calgary games this year.
That'll be fun.
Give me an elk. Give me one more elk before we wrap it up. Is there a cow in the back? Do you hear that? There's a secondary animal there.
Well, there's a bunch of elk.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, it's got some water in the back. It's a nice, peaceful. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, it's like whale music. That'll put me to sleep for sure.
I will put you to sleep. All right. I think that's it for tonight. Again, remember that is that a unicorn? Somebody said. Hey.
That's good. That's awesome.
8:30 or coming up right after the show, we got Kwame Boss Man with his crew with No Holds Bar are going to be after us at 8:30 or possibly sooner if we get off. Other than that, that was a great headline show. We're going to go out to a song that multifaceted in terms of where we are right now in our climate. Obviously, The Hip is a very Canadian band. given some of the circumstances we've had over the last little while that we heard in Kamloops and some of these things that are coming up in the news and in our history is absolutely devastating. I know that Gordy was a big advocate of this as well.
We got to be better.
100%.
We got to be better.
I'm just afraid of what else is going to be coming down the pipe, and what other revelations are going to be coming down. But the Hip released another album of unheard songs, Saskadelphia. This one's called Montreal.
Love it.
So fitting for the Montreal-Toronto series. Again, it's the Hip. It embodies the Canadian culture, if you will, and brings me right to our nation. So we're going out to this song. Hope you guys like it. It's my favorite one from this album. And we will see you guys next week. Have a good one. Be nice to everybody. That's Ellen DeGeneres. Be kind to everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be nice.
Be good.
Used to like lavender pantsuits, long black velvet gloves, smiles cross crowded rooms. The only boy she'd ever known. Don't you worry, her mother's gonna make her look good. Don't you worry, her mother's gonna make her look good. Didn't like leopard coats or tall, thin millionaires kissing everybody on New Year's Eve or sending men to electric chairs. Don't you worry, her mother's gonna make her look good. Don't you worry, her mother's gonna make her look good. Give you a chance to explain. Well, why don't you just explain? Come on, explain away. The snow is so merciless. Poor old Montreal. In spite of everything that's happened, yeah, in spite of it all, don't you worry, your mother's gonna make it look good. Don't you worry, your father's gonna make her look good. So long to forget. Oh, easy to bad day for the violence. It's a bad day for the real. It's a bad day for the style.